I've got lots of little directions I want to go in my buzz, but I'm going to start with, it was really interesting. The reason I gave you a hug is I was thinking about you and I felt like an ending had happened with Poppy, and obviously I assumed the worst in my mind, which is why I gave you a hug. But I hadn't considered that it would be an ending that was a positive one. So that's lovely. Yeah.
How weird. Some kind of sixth sense.
Well, I just think disconnect endings sometimes. But I'm really pleased that it was that ending and not the other type of ending which I was worried about. So that was a buzz today to hear that. It's been a really busy week. We've had lots going on and a lot over the weekend, so it's been quite difficult to kind of come back to it, and lots of frustrations, and I've been finding myself getting quite cross, which I don't often find myself getting cross. Things tend to wash over me. I think it's just a number of different sort of where you feel as though people are trying to get you to sort of manipulate you to do something that somebody else has told them that can't happen, and then they've tried to get you involved to sort of overturn the other person.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah, it probably does happen to me all the time, and I've just noticed it this week because it's been so many quite obvious situations, and I found that quite tough. I've just been a bit like, I don't know. So I'm working through that at the moment, trying to work out why it's making me so cross. Recognising that I'm probably created these circumstances myself anyway, because I like to find solutions, and often those solutions override what somebody else has said. So that's why people do come to you when you do that kind of thing. So, and then thinking, well, is that a problem, or is that just like, so all of those kinds of things, and just trying to sort of work out where that sits with things. I think it was what you were talking about. We were talking last week about after the session, we talked about mutuality and the fact that you need to both get something out of it. And I suppose that kind of mutuality is a little bit, it's like using mutuality and twisting it, and there's something I feel uncomfortable about, and I can't quite, it's just been making me cross at the moment. I can't quite get through to the other side of it to find out what the lessons are to learn with that, and how to either avoid it or to accept it or to find a different way. So I'm sort of sitting with it at the moment, just feeling slightly cross, and then going home and watching things to take my mind off it, because I'm just kind of feeling cross, and you can't sustain cross feelings, you have to kind of move out of them. So I watched Michael Moore's, I can't remember what he calls it, but kind of he's sort of conquering Europe through taking their ideas, and I don't know if you've ever watched any Michael Moore. Do you know who I'm talking about? No. He's an American who essentially is very critical of America, and what he does is he goes to all these different European countries to find out about their policies, and it's absolutely amazing, because you kind of know that there are some great policies out there, but you sort of forget. And what made me a little bit sad listening to it was how much Britain is becoming like America. Because they went and looked at I think it's the Finnish education system, where they're at school for 20 hours, they have no or little homework, it's optional anyway. They want children to play, they want children to be children, even as they get into and that's absolutely phenomenal results. And you think, well, where it was bringing in the national curriculum that made that go wrong, because now our results are getting worse, our children are getting more stressed, there's more mental health problems, and and so it went on. Health systems that are working really well, sensible drug laws, or deep known laws about drugs, and actually seeing that as a medical issue in Portugal. But it was really interesting just to see the best of all of these policies. And it sort of, whilst making me a little bit sad about the fact that we're sort of going in the wrong direction, it also gave me a lot of hope about the fact that there are lots of solutions out there to these things, that if you can embrace them, be braver really, and sort of see, really interesting things about prisons and everything. It is a really interesting programme, and it's got a lot of
where did you find it? On the BBC?
yeah, I don't know. Ben found it for me, so I think you can stream it from somewhere, but I can find out. It's Michael Moore's.
Big one on the NHS.
Yeah, this one's just about all of them. I'll find out and I'll send it around.
Yeah.
It's something like he goes around with this American flag in quite a comedy style, saying I'm coming to, take over. But it's all very funny. I'm taking you over so that I can take your ideas back to America. But the ending is really interesting because it says basically almost every country he goes to says this isn't our idea. This came from America originally. So all of these ideas were American, and I thought that about England. We have lots of great things that we used to do, and we keep moving away from because and we're sort of losing some of that knowledge that we had. And then on a separate note, we've been watching. Ben's been not feeling very well either, so he's been watching very random things. Loads of stuff about pyramids. So they're always good fun. Good pyramid conspiracy. But what was interesting about it was they were talking about the idea that maybe we're not as advanced as we used to be, and that the pyramids show so much amazing ability to build things so precisely that we still would struggle to build the pyramids as they are today. And that this idea that we're going in this upwards trajectory of, we're better than the past. And I just thought that was really interesting with the kind of whole indigenous ways of knowing. And we do have this sort of trajectory as though, we're the most technologically advanced we've ever been. We're the most, we have the most knowledge. We have all of this stuff, and that just made me think, that's so true. That kind of. So it was all these things sort of going back into the past and relearning the things that you've forgotten and that you've moved away from, and actually accepting when things aren't working to say, maybe we should just go back and look at what we already knew, but we've forgotten it. And so there was some stuff about that really. And I thought that links really nicely into living theory, where you sort of go back into your own history, your own, where have I come from? And what can you learn from that? And that sort of linked with you asking me about the recollections and how there's so much you can understand about yourself just from those early recollections.
Powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was wondering if you might be, because you talk about mutuality, that also your anger, whether you might be helped by looking at revisiting the give and take theory. Do you remember? The reciprocity, the mutuality.
Vaguely.
Yeah, I found that hugely. Well, I'll send because I did a sort of like you did with suicide, sort of a look.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I found it hugely
that might be helpful.
useful, because what I learned from that is that you can be really generous, because that's what that's what seems to work quite often. But sometimes it's all too much, and it's about give and take, and that being somehow us being aware that it's kind of equal. And I realise that when I feel angsty, sometimes when I feel the other person's taking too much, so I may be feeling generous, but suddenly I don't want to do it anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not mutual anymore.
Yeah.
I found that
that might be
really interesting. And once I knew that, I thought, it's quite normal. It's not just me being a horrible person. It's actually somehow impinging on something. I'll send it again. I found it really useful.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah, we're okay.